so I didn't start consistently meditating until, man, probably about 6 years ago, like in my early 20s, at some point. But I had a bunch of misconceptions about it, and I think a lot of people do. I mean, the most common one I hear when I talk to people about meditation is like, "There's no way I can meditate. Like my mind is just too busy." And I'm like, dude, yeah, you're a perfect candidate, man. I mean, that's why you do it. And I think a really interesting thing with meditation is like a misconception people have. Like, so when it comes to this context, like, yes, everybody's different. Everybody has their own unique experiences, ways of looking at the world. Everybody's mind works a little bit different. But at the same time, everybody's not different. Like, you're not that special just because your
Right.
mind is busy. You know what I mean? Like, everybody deals with very similar types of issues relative to their own mind. You know, people deal with different issues, but you know what I mean? Like, relative to mind chatter and stuff like that. I mean, dude, I've meditated, I think it's like every day for the past almost 3 years or something like that. And it's still like my mind still races when I sit down. You know,
Right.
that's never going to go away. Like, your mind's job is to think. So this misconception people have that you have to get to this completely clear-headed zen-like state every time you meditate or you're not good at it, like, that is complete crap. Because I find that most of the effects of meditation happen outside of the actual meditation session. You know, I mean, you're not doing it to just feel good for those 10 minutes. You know, like, that happens, that's a side effect, but you're doing it to become aware of things, aware of patterns and storylines that you buy into, or see what comes up in your mind, or see what issues come up, or what positive things come up. Like, you're just doing it to be more aware of yourself. And I find that helps me to be more emotionally consistent, remain more relaxed throughout the day, less stressed, you know, things like that. But they're all side effects. You know, it's going to affect everybody differently. And you can't have this goal of achieving enlightenment, or else it's a bad meditative session. Like, there are no bad sessions. It's just a session, and you're just sitting down and trying to focus on something, or doing a guided one or not doing a guided one. Like, you're just trying to become more aware of yourself, I think.
Yes. This is very much close to my practice professionally and personally. Meditation has been for a long time, so I could say so much. But
Mm,
back to like misconceptions, there's so much toxicity in
mm,
the meditation culture that I so disagree with. And it took me like having a practice and then consulting a bunch of different professionals or trying different modalities to really realize, and then also studying different fields to then realize
yeah,
how some of this like mainstream misconceptions of meditation and what the goals are like really, really toxic.
yeah,
One of them, for example, is what you're speaking to, is that like your mind's supposed to be like empty or something like that. And I will leave cases of the extreme and other esoteric testimonies to those people, let them speak for themselves. But generally speaking, like, your mind is never gonna not be active and have
yeah,
some sort of activity. And you look at brain waves like
yeah,
hooking people up, even when you're sleeping and your body is like unconscious and you're paralyzed, like your brain waves are woo, they're still going. And when you sit down, there's a different coherence of the brain
mhm,
waves, different parts of the hemisphere globally that will start to sync up. And there's really cool brainwave activity that leads to all the neurophysiological benefits, but there's still activity is the point. And
yeah,
each of those states bring about different types of activity. And so the way I look at it for myself is like, yeah, I started out with like, my mind's supposed to be empty, but then you're just like repressing thoughts, you're arguing with your own thoughts, you're wasting a lot of energy trying to be something
yeah,
that's impossible. You're just like misinformed. And now I just look at it kind of like waves, where I'm like, I'm
mhm,
just gonna sit here, close my eyes, and just tune in. Like you were talking about, like what's going on, what's here, what's happening next, and
yeah,
just let it just be with it and just try to get deeper into it
mm,
and allow myself to feel it, to become more aware without the goals of like emptying my mind. Like,
Yeah.
if some patterns come up, like, oh, there's the hate, blame, and shame again going on, and a woo, it's like I will tune into other things like breath or a sensation or my heartbeat or
Uh-huh.
a visual image to deviate from that, but I still give it space to be there. I don't like
Yeah.
fight against my own thoughts, like be like, you can't be here.
Yeah. Yeah. And ironically, like the less you fight your own thoughts or you fight your own busyness in your mind, the more likely it is to settle down anyway. You
Yeah.
know, it's a lot of times it's the thoughts that you have about the thoughts that you have that creates more resistance in the mind. And then that gets this cycle going and you start thinking even more. And, you know, like a random thought comes up and you're like, no, like I can't think that thought. Like, no, cut that off. And then you start thinking about that thought and you've just spent 5 minutes thinking about how you shouldn't have been thinking that thought.
Hmm.
And then your mind's busy anyway. When instead, if you just notice it and you're like, oh, cool, you know, and then just like let it be there, it's more likely to dissipate anyway. You know, same with um some like different emotions for me that have come up in meditation. The more I just kind of sit with them and let them be there, like the more they pass more quickly and the less I actually have to deal with them. And
Yeah.
instead of, you know, trying to fight them or things like that. So just so many unrealistic expectations that just lead to those toxic goals and toxic uh, framework that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and you're reminding me of two things. One, I'm hearing you mention the observing consciousness, the witness consciousness. Like, it's the thoughts about the thoughts that make this a battle or a struggle, and is counterproductive to an actual, being
Mm-hmm.
with a meditation practice.
Yeah.
And you're speaking to this capacity again, witness consciousness. And well, what is witness consciousness? This drove me nuts for years. I'm like, what is it that is observing the observable phenomenon? Like, it's
Yeah.
meta. There's this meta thing that you can tune into.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would just meditate and try to like have that witness consciousness, my own personal makeup and history and story and emotions, whatever beliefs, led me to feel really ungrounded. And so
Mm-hmm.
it took me years to then figure out via other modalities, which I was mentioning earlier, doing other work with tandem with meditation is important too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to find like my values and my, yeah, like very much values and a
Mm-hmm.
sense of um like, I think I was having a mild form of dissociation all the time too when I would meditate, just go into
Mm-hmm.
this really abstract mental realm that was ungrounded to even my body, because you're just like dealing with the mind and meditation.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of work with values and grounding. So then when I sit there in meditation and I'm tuning in and I'm having that witness consciousness, observing consciousness effect going on,
Mm-hmm.
I'm witnessing my reaction to my thoughts. Then I go, if it becomes overwhelming or I don't like it, I then
Mm-hmm.
have done values work and like grounding work to then tune into something that can be tolerant of all that turbulence, that can be grounded despite all that turbulence, that can
Yeah.
redirect and come back to like peace and ease or serenity or love, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
while still giving space for all that I'm observing to be there too.
Yeah. Wow.
I
That's
don't know if that
that's.
makes sense. It gets kind of hard to
Mhm.
talk about, but
No, yeah, no, that's cool. I didn't really think about it that way. Do you have uh I mean, I know you said you do a lot of like different types of, you know, disciplines and whatnot. Do you find mostly that guided or unguided meditations work best for you? Just
it's one of those things where I feel like if you're any profession, when you start to become like the one teaching it and delivering it and having like really high self-reflective critical expectations of doing a good job, and you'll
mhm,
find your way and your style, then like being a chef, if you're like, this is good food, these are good flavors, this is good recipe, then when you
yeah.
go eat elsewhere, you're gonna be like, blah, like you're gonna be a little harder on people. So I used to do recorded stuff for years and years and years and years and
Mhm,
guided, but to this day, whether I'm in person or on an app, now that I'm like a full adult and have been doing this for 7 years now teaching,
mhm,
I like cannot tolerate most people, or I shouldn't say tolerate, I struggle. Maybe
yeah.
it's like the way that they're pacing something or their words, or something that drives me crazy is when I feel like the way they talk to you, their meditation voice feels like they're trying to seduce me.
Yeah.
Like, now tune in to the flow of the river. And I'm like, no, stop trying to seduce me. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Get
all these things that I get really hard on, or if they go too fast, or, you know, I'm feeling auditorily like where I feel like they're at, like I'm trying to psychically read them. And I'm just like, no, 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 no. So now I 99.9% of the time do my own thing.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. I would say I'm kind of split on that. Like I found a couple guided ones that I really like. I've had a lot of success lately with the Headspace app that I tell a lot of people about, and I kind of just do I, I've I've done some of the packs, you know, like the 30-day ones or a 10-day one or something like that, that is supposed to build off of the next or off the previous session. But now I just kind of do the everyday one, like the new one that pops up every day, and it's super simple. Just focusing on your breath and whatnot. Like I've done some um, that are cool in some ways, like focusing on different parts of your body. You know, like feel like your fingertips and feel the ridges on your fingertips, and then feel your toes and feel your lips, and you know, just all of this type of stuff. And that's cool. I did I had a lot of success with that one, like the body parts or body scan type thing, like before baseball games, because then I feel like I'd get more in tune with my body. So it's kind of like context, just different times. But honestly, now it's just um, I like hearing Andy from Headspace's perspective on everything, which is why I like doing the daily one. But I could have just as much actual meditative success just doing it on my own and listening to my breathing. So I've just found like simpler is better for my everyday type of thing. So nothing
Nice.
fancy.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to check out the Headspace app. I'm on Insight Timer and I have meditations on there.
Mm, okay.
Did years ago, and I'm not proud of fully. I need to totally redo those for many reasons.
Yeah.
But I'll check out Headspace.
Mhm.
And one thing I want to add is like I might sound, whoever's listening, I might sound like really harsh and judgmental, because I know I've gotten with Insight Timer, I've gotten all kinds of like feedback, like your voice is boring, like I can't stand the sound of your voice, like this sucks, like so lame. Like people say, you know, like those little reviews.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of pretty harsh feedback, and I don't mean to sound harsh towards others.
Mhm.
Everybody's different, you know, go figure it out. I may or may not serve you if you listen to my meditation or do meditations with me, and like that's okay. It's just like
Mhm.
kind of like food. This may not be what your body needs right now. It may not be a good fit, and you don't have to suffer through it. Just pick something else. And that's what's cool about these apps is there's like thousands and thousands, even millions on YouTube too, like totally for
Mhm.
free. You can just explore and find stuff that works for you. And it's
Yeah.
it's different. It's not better than someone else or less. The fact is, if it works for you, then that's worth it.
Yeah. Have you ever tried any of Joe Dispenza's meditations?
I don't think so.
Okay, so that one, he's very polarizing with his meditations because his cadence is way out there. So like you either love it or you hate it. And I've loved some of them that I've done with him. I just kind of got more into my own thing. But anyway, he tries to make it as out there as possible. I mean, because he does a lot of like brainwave research, so everything is very timed and synced up. But he also said, I think in an interview I was listening to, he was like, yeah, I try to make it weird because when people are thinking about how weird my cadence is or why I'm pausing so long or something like that, they're not thinking about their problems. They're not thinking about their relationship, you know, and it distracts them in a way. But his are kind of like, it's it's super slow in some areas and then normal in others. So just pretend I'm him for a second. He would be like, can you feel the space between your fingers, you know, or something like that? And it is such a long pause, and then other times it's normal, and then there's music involved. And so yeah, you should check it out just to see what you would think about it, because it's interesting to say the least.
Nice, for sure. Cool. Like he sounds like he's got his reasons too, and if
Yeah.
that for people, great.
Mhm.
Sounds kind of
Yeah.
like parenting, like the art, the mastery of distraction.
Yeah. Yeah.